the Auburn Blitz podcast, your direct source for all Auburn all the time with Brett Pritchard, Faith Richardson, and Randy Lee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on a Monday morning. We are so glad that you joined us wherever and whenever it is that you join us each and every day here on the Auburn Blitz and making Auburn Blitz part of your daily Auburn athletic intake. Brett and Faith with you here to get your week started. Good morning, Faith. A bunch to dive into this morning.
Yeah, it's a Monday morning, so you know that means there's a lot to talk about, and nothing short of it right now, especially with the 15-day window of the transfer portal. So why don't we just dive right into it?
Yeah, we'll dive right into it, but I got to ask you first, since this is really the first time we've been back on. Have you recovered from the trip to New Orleans?
Hey, you know what? I have, and if you would have heard me the day after, I sounded worse than I did probably a couple of weeks ago.
Sounded worse than me last week, probably.
Yeah. Oh, 10 times worse.
Screaming.
Yes.
Okay. There you go. I mean, look, I'm not ratting you out. I mean, you were doing what you were supposed to do. Hey, and look, they've become the darling
America's
of the country.
Team.
Yeah, absolutely, because of all the things that have gone on around that program since Lane Kiffin left. So we're not here to talk about that. I had to just ask you how the trip was for you to kind of, let everybody know. And ended up being a fun game. And it's always good when Georgia loses. So,
hey, that's a win any day in my book.
It doesn't matter who it is. But more importantly, Auburn. We'll shift focus. Still waiting. Should be today, and I think everybody knows what we're talking about with Byrum Brown. I think with the portal opening on Friday, it was what is this thing going to look like? Is it going to be a bunch of dominoes falling immediately? Not the case, really, for Auburn. Not the case for a lot of teams. Guys visiting. I mean, the crazy thing is over the next 12 days, 14 days, everybody trying to get all these visits crammed in. And then they got to make a decision. Then they got to move to where they're going. But just kind of like what we thought, a few of the early dominoes that have fallen have been South Florida guys. And I don't think there's any shock to that. But the one everybody's been waiting on hasn't fallen yet. Should you be concerned a little bit? It's the question.
Two things. Number one, what happens if today passes by and he does not commit? What happens? How confident are you that he remains committed? Or not committed, but remains in the question of committing.
Yeah, I think when you show up to Auburn with your former head football coach in his new position and basically the staff and what you've already brought in, I don't know that. Do you leave without going ahead and doing this deal and feel confident that you could come back and do it if he leaves to go to talk to somebody else? I don't think so. And so I think, and I told you this last week, I said, I don't let him leave. If this is Auburn's guy, you don't let him leave without locking this down and making sure, he doesn't. There's no worry of him going and listening to anybody else's whatever offers. Let me
ask you one more question, Brett.
Yep.
So, you obviously have Braden at Auburn right now. Do they start school today?
They start the 7th. So they start Wednesday.
They start on Wednesday. So if they have a 15-day portal window, 15-day portal window, and school starts on the 7th, that's another thing that.
Right. I think you can register all the way up until the 13th, maybe. But but I know where you're going, and you're making a good point here. This calendar is so screwed up. And you got guys visiting right now all over the country. And they're trying, like I said just a minute ago, they're visiting, and then they're going to have to figure out where they're going to go, and then they got to move. So
I just don't understand how, you're supposed to be going to school during these times.
You're not. And that's kind of what.
That's the whole point of being a student athlete that I just.
But that's where this has been lost. Let's be honest, and I'm not going to spend a bunch of time talking about this again because we get caught up in this. And let's just go ahead and accept the fact that the academic side doesn't make two whats. It doesn't. I mean, let's not even try to pretend that it does anymore. And that's sad because that's where we're missing the boat as society, because you're not preparing. Like, for most of these guys, professional football is not their future. So what is their future? They're grabbing all this money they can grab. Look, and it's not for everybody. Like, everybody's not getting these massive offers. Again, not to repeat myself, but Charles Barkley said it. The 1%'s ruining it for the 99%. But we'll talk about some of these absurd deals that have already gone down. And like Sorsby, and his commitment to Texas Tech, and some of these other guys, I don't really know what else to say outside of that. There's nowhere else for me to go other than everybody has turned a blind eye to the academic side and the eligibility side. It's a business now. So what are you preparing these kids to do when they leave and the money finally gets shut off? And that's what you've seen all these coaches the last week or two talking about. It's finally starting to get to the top of the priority list to discuss, hey, anybody got any idea what some of these guys are going to be doing in a couple of years?
In the same way that you and I just keep talking about how there are some of these guys that are getting, an offer, or their NIL deals that they're agreeing are, $5 million, $5
Right.
to $7 million. You said yesterday when you texted me that, Bo Nix makes $4 million in the NFL a year. And some of these guys are getting paid $5 to $7 million.
Well, Brendan Sorsby apparently signed a $5 million deal with Texas Tech. And he was the number one quarterback in the portal. Obviously, when you look at several of these quarterbacks, Byrum Brown's right there at the top. He's, I think, a couple, according to PFF, he was the number one portal quarterback. On 3 had him as the number 3. So what is he demanding? And Auburn has to pay this guy. Like, if there's one guy that you got to pay, because Auburn's got to have a quarterback. That's what is so important about Byrum Brown and why everybody's waiting. And, he was in Auburn in the building yesterday, and they're having these discussions. Did he go back to his hotel room and with his family and go, there, let's sleep on this thing? And are we coming out this morning and hearing something? I would say you'd hear something before lunch today.
Yeah,
that's my general thinking.
Yeah, we just had these 2 comments, and so I immediately just started looking to see if anyone has posted anything with backing that. So
yeah, I haven't gotten anything that's come across to me yet. So
yeah, I haven't either.
But it like I said, I think that's where everybody's mind is right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll happen. So let's just assume that it does happen. All right, now we said within this first weekend's crucial, and that's the biggest hammer to fall when it does fall. How does that affect some of these other guys that are out there looking? Now Byrum Brown's gone to an SEC school. Who wants to come play with Byrum Brown? Well, you've already gotten a couple of USF wide receivers. One with decent amount of playing time in Christian Neptune and another piece in Corey Pettigrew. But there's still some other guys that, let's be honest about it, Auburn's looking at that they would like to have. And again, you may end up with, after looking at all this, you may end up with 7 or 8 of these South Florida guys that you're adding. And we're not shocked by that, but we were just saying
we don't want 20 of them coming to Auburn.
You don't just have to be grabbing a bunch of guys to fill spots. But you know what? At the end of the day, you may end up having to do that, depending on how this thing goes. And
right now Auburn has 4 portal commits. And
right.
How many did we say entered the portal? I know some of them have decided that they're going to come back, but that still doesn't take away from the fact that there's about 23 that are still in the portal.
Right. Yeah, but Tubbs talking about Grayson McCall, but I think that ship sailed so far long ago that I haven't heard anybody talking about academics since. I don't think that's an issue anymore. I really don't. All right, Christian Neptune. What are you getting in Christian Neptune? He's a freshman, 5'11", 185 pounds, slot guy, caught 38 passes, 335 yards and a touchdown. So, in Corey Pettigrew, very limited action. So, yeah, I think with this being the first time we've had one window, and I don't think anybody knew what to expect this first weekend. Auburn they get a few guys, but it was not this flood of guys. So maybe there wasn't a lot of backdoor dealings that had already been done, or they're telling guys, hey, look, wait a few days and then come in and sign and commit, whatever. I don't know. I mean, everybody's playing this game, and yeah, I see the comment from 392J about the Deuce rumors. I mean, heard that this weekend that door's not shut either. And that's another part of what this is with this portal, Faith, that you and I talked about last week. Just because you get in the portal or you haven't officially been in the portal yet doesn't mean that the doors aren't open for you to come back to Auburn. I think there's a lot of these guys.
As you don't close that door yourself.
Yeah, correct.
Make something of it and burn those bridges.
Yep.
Yeah, there's definitely still an opening in those doors that you can come back and negotiate and say, hey, this is what I'm getting offered over here in the portal. What can we do? I really like Auburn.
I just think sometimes it's the hip thing to do when everybody else is doing it. And then you get a big dose of reality when you get in there and go, oh, well, maybe everybody's not after me. Maybe all these massive deals aren't just sitting out there and people are just begging for my services, or it's going to be an easier path because everybody's dumping in. You got to think about that. Mm-hmm. Everybody's dumping in the portal. So there's a lot of competition out there. And if you're an elite player, yeah, you're going to get better opportunities than Joe Blow player that's just jumping in. But again, what were the reality opportunities for Deuce Knight if he were to go somewhere? All right, is Trinidad Chambliss going to get his waiver? It looks like he's probably going to.
I think they just announced that, yeah.
So, see, I mean, he's not going to Ole Miss. He's going to go sit over there if he wants to go to Ole Miss. And then the other one that we heard, the only opportunity to probably start would be Boston College. And look, I know Auburn hadn't done much the last few years, but go look at what Boston College has done. And
they're going all the way up there. It's cold.
Is that where you want to go play too?
Your family.
So you got to kind of weigh all that stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, would not be surprised. And that would be a huge win for Alex Golish if you get Byrum Brown and you get Deuce Knight to come back. And now this quarterback room looks totally different than it did last week.
Not only does it look totally different for the quarterbacks, it also looks looks like the receiving core could be different too, because again, how many times did we talk about that if Byrum Brown doesn't come, that what does the receivers look like that are going to come into Auburn? And I know we just touched on that, but again, it looks so much different than having some no-namer come in and, hasn't
Right.
proven much. Well, you've got then Byrum Brown and Deuce Knight behind him there, and that's another year with Deuce Knight learning and working behind Byrum Brown, that when you see the execution from Byrum Brown, you're going to think the same thing about Deuce Knight, that he's got all those qualities. And the receiving core that we had was a lot younger, and I know some of them have transferred out and decided to go in the portal, but still you grow that connection, you grow that development that ends up being executed on the field after having worked with them for a year or so, versus now with this portal thing, you're working with guys for 9 months and that's it.
Well, and again, I think that's probably the point. You don't look into what 27 is going to look like, or 20 any of this is a and I heard somebody say this the other day, and it just again reemphasizes how dumb all this is like, this is your team right now. What this team even looks like, in 12 months is going to be completely different again. Like, there is no continuity to this sport anymore. And that's what's so frustrating, is that you got to just do this. It's on a never-ending cycle. How do you ever build anything? Like, you get these guys that, if you keep somebody 3 years now, it's a miracle. It really is. Like, that's just so unheard of now. And until something changes, it's going to be this way. So, do you get excited about Corey Pettigrew? He's a guy that is probably not going to play much this year coming in, I wouldn't think. And then, heck, he could be gone this time next year. And that's fine, because whatever the situation is, you have to adjust and adapt. But that's why everybody's so frustrated with the sport, is that there's nothing to cling to anymore. There is no watching guys grow and develop. It's just in them. It's a revolving door constantly.
How sure are we too about the fact that this one portal window isn't going to stop some guys from trying to pull something to leave in the summer or after spring?
Depends on how many teeth this thing has, and who's going to back it up.
Because I just don't see, looking back at the past, I don't see how this could really stop some people from trying.
And what would be to prevent them from doing that? Like, seriously, if you want to transfer to another school, do you really need a portal window to we've already seen it happen. We've already seen a guy leave and go, where did he go? Miami? And said,
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to tell me. I can't. I think he went from Wisconsin to Miami, if I'm correct. And it was past the point. He's like, I don't need a portal window for you to tell me I'm transferring. And then
He's got employed or something like that.
He got enrolled in school, and he went on to the football team. Seriously, what is there really a window of time? I don't know. It's a good point. Yeah, Bryce is going into year 3, but how many are War Eagle? That's the thing, is that
it's ruining it for those some people
Yeah.
that are sticking with the process and are sticking through it, because all you can talk about is, and this is terrible, but all you can talk about is the negative in this.
It far outweighs any positives. You're digging for positive things out there. And Justin said, look at the teams getting commits. Ole Miss and Indiana. Pinch yourself, everybody. Did you hear that? Yeah, winning does matter. We said it till we were blue in the face in the offseason.
This whole season.
We said it. If Auburn would just go win games, a lot of this would cure itself. And then you go out there and Now Indiana's the team everybody wants to go to.
Yeah.
And they've had a historically terrible program, but you see what they're doing now and the discipline and the structure to have people still yearn for that too, Faith, I
Yeah.
think.
100%.
Amongst all this moving around and stuff, the programs that seem to have their act together don't have near the turmoil this time, and they can be more selective. They got more people wanting to come to them rather than you trying to beg them to come to your program, right?
Right. And, the way that Indiana has been doing it and that we've talked about is that they do have that structure and they do have the way that people want to go there and work. Because again, when we were talking about that blue chip roster and the difference between Ohio State and even Auburn and Indiana, when you get those guys that want to put forth effort and want to work harder, that's where you're going to see actual results, I think. And that's what I think Alex Golish is trying to do. And that's what he's trying to build at Auburn and at this program. And that's why he had to clear out some of those guys that maybe didn't see that the same way that some of these other guys might want to come in here and put forth that effort and put forth that work to get to being out there on the field and having that winning name and winning title, because that's not how Auburn's been the last couple of years, and I think we know that.
No. We're definitely going to talk about some of these additions and the returners coming in, but I think one thing that I see Big Jink over here talk about that you need to really start seeing come to fruition this week are the lines of scrimmage. But let's talk about some of our partners here first before we go any further, because we couldn't do the show without
Scentsy Green for air that's cool and clean or warm and clean. Make sure you call Scentsy Green. They are the carrier experts in the state of Alabama, proud supporters of Auburn athletics and a proud supporter of Auburn Blitz. Guys, I mean, with this weather going back and forth, I know that a lot of people are getting sick. You want to make sure you have a reliable unit that is going to be able to go back and forth between the heat and the cooling element. So make sure you get a carrier unit from Scentsy Green. They're going to save you thousands of dollars. And again, it's nice to have somebody that you trust.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. Scout Program Management, a full construction management firm in Birmingham, Alabama. Go check them out online, scoutpm.com. Again, if you have a municipality or educational institution that you're working with, colleges, high schools, and you're planning on a massive build, you better hire them, because if you want it done right, they're the company to do it. They take you from the start to the finish. You hire a program management company for a reason, because you don't have the time nor the expertise to know what the heck you're doing. And by the time the contractors turn the keys over to you, it's too late to go back in there and fix it. So hire Scout Program Management today.
Bunkers in downtown Auburn. I can't wait to get back there. We're fixing to go there here pretty soon. Bunkers is a perfect place for sports, food, music, fun, whatever it might be. I mean, go there for the basketball games. Go there for some more of these football games. Bunkers is the place to be. 50 parking spaces downtown. They got their steak sliders back, so I'm going to be there as soon as I can. And hit up Bunkers. Seriously, I mean, like live music, everything. Go to Bunkers.
Absolutely. And then the cart source. I mean, the ads even orange and blue. Why would you not go to the cart source? Easy Go Cushman, Yamaha Club Car. I talked to people this weekend, and they were like, man, I got to get the cart source. Been thinking about a golf cart. I'm going to pull the trigger. So, Harrison, I'm telling you, man, I talked to them this weekend. They're coming.
Expect them to come in.
I expect them to come in, and Auburn Blitz is sending you there. Alabama's premier golf cart superstore. If you're even on the fence or thinking about it, go check it out. They'll let you test drive one. Faith and I have done it. About to go back and do it again. Going to make sure we have a little bit more time down at the cart source. Check them out. They are the best in the business, located right there on Highway 280. All right. O-line, defensive line. Nothing has changed from the end of last week when we were talking about priority in this portal. Again, better start seeing some offensive linemen, or you better hope you get some of these guys back that You get Carter back, maybe. I think there's an opportunity for him to get out of the portal, come back to Auburn, and some of these guys. And I know you're going to be trying to get guys in. Alabama offensive lineman scheduling a visit on Tuesday. So again, all these guys, there's so much going on this week because classes are starting everywhere. And so when you look at it from that standpoint, gotta have some of these linemen on both sides of the football and an edge rusher. Who are you going out and getting as far as an edge rusher is concerned? So we're going to
continue to talk about after the games in our post-game reaction show, Brett, was how Auburn never controlled the line of scrimmage in a lot of these games. And that's where having that strong offensive line or D-line that you need to really take control of and whether it's protecting your quarterback or going and getting aggressive to getting the other quarterback, whatever it may be. Auburn was never able to control the line of scrimmage. Now, what they were able to control was getting set back behind the chains. And that was something that Auburn struggled with massively this last year. And, whether that may be discipline on the line or whatever it may be, Auburn has got to go out and get some guys that we had last year, guys that were experienced, but you've got to go and get some other guys that have some experience and actually have some footage to showcase that too, Brett.
Football is definitely a tougher sport when you start 1st and 15. Didn't take a Philadelphia Lawyer.
And the thing is too, is you end up having a 3rd and long majority of the time. Because
how many times did we look at each other and say, well, that would have been a first down if we had not started off with a penalty on first down, whether it be a false start or a legal formation or a holding penalty. You get down to 3rd and 3 or 4, you're having to get 15 or 20 yards for first down versus the standard 10. Just so many mistakes. But again, I know that comes down to coaching. Right now, it's bodies that Auburn needs on the offensive and defensive line. So
depth there, like you said, bodies, experience. There's so many things that Auburn is lacking on both sides of the ball when it comes to the line. So that's something that you and I could talk about forever because it's been such a problem.
It's been a terrible problem. You've had several guys that, again, another position that we talked about is running back. Now Darrell Robinson is in the portal. Is he a guy that could come back? I mean, I don't know. I mean, we never saw him again after that injury. Again, I think it's important that Auburn get another running back too. So, and we talked about that on Friday, Jake, about Falk. And look, we all love Keldrick Falk, but let's be honest, the numbers were not good this year. And yeah, he did open up opportunities, but you look at some of these guys in the playoffs right now, the defensive end for Miami, the Bailey kid for Texas Tech, everybody knew they were the best in the country. They still made play after play after play. It's just very odd that Keldrick Falk didn't have, because he was supposedly the number 1 edge rusher in the country and top 10 draft pick and still may end up being that way.
And he was dealing with some injuries that were behind the scenes a little bit. But still.
It just, to me, again, it was not what we all thought it was going to be. Again, not to cast stones on a guy that was loyal and bought in.
Did a lot for this program.
Right, and did a lot. But, numbers don't lie at the end of the day. So that's what kind of stinks about that. All right. You wanted to talk about the absurdity of some of this, and we didn't put this on the list over here of things, but I mean, this number just keeps going up. Is Brendan Sorsby really worth $5 million? But the market demands it for highly ranked quarterbacks. And when these top quarterbacks get in the portal now, and everybody's desperate for a really, like Hoover already going to Indiana, from TCU. I mean, going to follow up Mendoza. I think that's and you've seen Miami with Cam Ward and now Carson Beck, and Auburn's proven it over the past two with Cam Newton and Jarrett Stidham. And you can throw Nick Marshall in there too. He wasn't a highly sought out quarterback. He was a DB converted quarterback, but he worked out. But my point is what an elite quarterback can do for your team very quickly. Absolutely. I mean, we saw Sam Leavitt. Sam Leavitt's in the portal, from Arizona State. What's he end up? I mean, Kentucky, right? Kentucky, in their mind, Texas Tech proved this year, these schools, Indiana, go get you a good quarterback, and we make up a huge gap of where we've been terrible for so long. Why couldn't Kentucky go out and spend a boatload of money in key positions, go get a stud quarterback, and all of a sudden be in the mix next year? I mean, that's the way this thing works now.
Yeah. And, Ed just said coaches don't have time to develop quarterbacks. Portal quarterbacks is the new way. But that's
go get you one every year, but there's not very many of them out there. That's right. The thing. Everybody has the same mindset. So that's why the number can be so high and is going to continue to go up so high, because it's the simple law of economics, Faith. Supply and demand. If there's very little supply, the demand's very high, you're going to get a big number.
Yeah. And someone earlier commented about how Auburn needs to pony up to pay Byrum Brown if they want him to come to Auburn. But again, some of these guys that are getting paid $5 to $7 million, how in the world are you expected to? No wonder people are wanting to come back for their. Hang on.
I'll talk while you get the dogs figured out. Ole Miss. I mean, Ed. I mean, you're right. I mean, but you look at what he was able to do, and good scouting found Trinidad Chambliss, and then now look at what he's going to be able to demand.
Yeah.
That's just the way of the world. And to not be a hypocrite and complain about how much money's being thrown around some of these guys. You know why they're getting to demand that? Because they've gone out and proven themselves already.
Right.
Right? They're not getting this, massive deal based on potential. They're getting paid and they're demanding a premium. Byrum Brown has 2 years of 3,000 plus yards passing and almost 1,000 yards rushing 2 years ago. And then this past year, 1,000 yards rushing. Byrum Brown can command a big number because he's gone out and shown that he can produce. So I have no problem. This is where we've all said this. We have no problem with this. And
the only problem I have is just how in the world are you paying these guys that are, 20 years old, $5 million? That to me is where I'm sitting there looking at Bo Nix, who's getting paid $4 million in the NFL, and thinking that is how, why would you want to go to the NFL? How many of these guys do you think are spending all this?
But again, it's a very, very minute. Again, we get caught up talking about why would you want to go to the NFL? It's a very, very, very small amount that can demand that.
Yeah.
So, I definitely hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. But we're only talking about quarterbacks, and then we're talking about the upper echelon of wide receivers that can even command that. The Cam Colemans of the world. And Cam's numbers haven't even been the best, but everybody knows what kind of dynamic player he is. So he's out there, we've heard the numbers for him, but every wide receiver can't go demand that. Every quarterback can't go demand that. Every running back can't go demand that. It's only a very select few. And then it drops off pretty drastically after.
Look at what you're saying. These kids are demanding things from.
I agree. I am in your court. That's what I'm saying.
I know.
I'm just saying that's why they're able to do it. And as long as colleges are willing to do this and are desperate for those guys at key positions, the number's only going to go up. It's only going to go up. So, what's going to happen? Let's just say Deuce Knight comes back to Auburn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he waits it out, and Byrum Brown, whatever. And then he takes over the program, and he has a phenomenal year. Do you not think he's going to demand? You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, that's how this thing works. So anyway,
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But again, thought we may be coming on here on a Monday talking about Auburn's new quarterback. Haven't gotten that yet. Did get one, got the backup from South Florida. And we talked about that a little bit, but hey, that's part of it. I mean, again, what's this quarterback room going to look like? Will you get Deuce Knight back to go along with Byrum Brown, and then Lachlan Hewlett, the other guy from South Florida. So we'll have to see. Let's talk about a couple more of our partners here, and then we'll get to basketball. Not tough loss on the road on Saturday to open up SEC play.
Oliver Ross, for all of your, spring weddings that you might have coming up, or whether or not it's going to be sorority fraternity day parties, even some over the summer recruitment things, have Oliver Ross do all of your bartending. They're professional licensed bartenders. So make sure you call on them, because there's nothing better than having somebody that will go and set all the stuff up and then break it down right after, Brett. I mean, seriously, that sells it within itself. And, that sells it for me, because I could never ask for somebody, to go in there and me having to do everything and, host at the same time.
You had to be a disaster.
Oh my gosh. So, you know what? I think that is probably the best thing.
There's no doubt. It's no probably. You got to hire them if you don't want to look like an idiot. Excuse me. All right. Russell Medical Center, one of the top 3 hospitals in the state of Alabama. When you talk about healthcare, it's all that matters in the world. None of this other stuff means anything if you don't have good healthcare. So call on Russell Medical Center. They are partnered with UAB Health, and again, you really don't need to say anything after that. Top ranked doctors, great facilities, clean in and out, easy accessibility. All the things that when you have health issues, you want to be taken care of. So make sure you call on Russell Medical Center. And Alex City Marine, the boat says it all. They're going to be having some sales coming up in the spring, but you can go have your own sale right now if you go up to 280 and check them out. And all the lines of boats that they have, the center consoles, the pontoons. Look, it will not be long. We've got to endure another month or 2 of crappy weather. Then that first weekend of 80, 85 degrees, going to feel good. You're going to be wanting a boat. You're going to be wanting to get on the lake. You're going to be wanting to go to the coast. Now's the time to be preparing and doing that. So go check out Alex City Marine on 280 as well. All these businesses are on Highway 280. So they're right here, and they're easy for you to access. 256-215-3474.
Whether you're coming back and forth from Birmingham to Auburn or Alex City.
Just be in your truck.
Auburn, it's not far.
Drive your truck, pull in, hook the boat up, and leave. Now,
it's not easy.
Got to pay for it first. Don't just back up to one and load it up and leave. You'll have some blue lights behind you.
Real quick.
Yep. So anyway, go check it out. Appreciate all of our partners on here. Got some more coming. I know it's crazy, but got some more partners coming, and we appreciate all of them so very much. Steven said, will there ever be a ceiling or salary cap?
I thought there was.
Yep. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. When you have a cap and then you say, well, none of this other external stuff counts toward that, there's not really a cap. The only solution I see is a buyout clause for the players, the same way we have for the coaches. I just think the one solution to all of it's the contracts. I just think that's kind of where it is. So, all right, let's talk about basketball before we end today. Not the best start. It was a hard fought game, crazy ending to regulation. Thought, man, Kevin Overton, man, say what you want to say about that guy, and he's a hustler. A guy that came in as a defensive guy from Texas Tech. He put up 19 points. Keyshawn Hall had 20. Todd Pettiford had 25, but had 4 turnovers, had 4 assists.
How much of a difference do you think Todd made coming off the bench this game?
It obviously was a major difference. He looked more comfortable. He looked like a guy that was back in his role of what he did last year. And we saw, and basketball's odd that way. Sometimes guys, they need to kind of let the game get going, and then they can come into the flow of the game rather than the start. I don't know but it worked. I thought the strategy, and then of course it wasn't intentional. He was obviously sitting for a reason, and Stephen Pearl addressed that, and he basically said, "Look, Todd's going to have to keep doing things the right way, or you're going to get the same results." And but he responded, came out, had 25 points. But at the end of the day, it's hard to go on the road and get a win in this conference. But this was a winnable game for Auburn. I think when you look at the road games for Auburn, this was one that you starred and you said, because Auburn has owned Georgia in basketball for a while.
13 straight games.
So you go back, and how does Sebastian Williams-Adams play 42 minutes in a basketball game and not get a point? Not a single point.
That's exactly where I was about to go with that, is how on earth. And again, when you've got 8 guys that are playing, and Caden Magwood with only 7 minutes, the rest of these guys
right
in high double-digit numbers, the lowest other than Caden Magwood being 22 minutes. That is –
I mean, when you score 100 points, the point distribution is going to be pretty good. But, yeah, I mean, everybody else, Freeman, 23 minutes, 14 points. I thought Phillip played great.
He did.
10 points, 22, but he just hustled, had 10 rebounds, had a double-double. Which he was praised by Stephen Pearl about the effort and stuff. But I'm going to go back to another thing that just seems to always rear its head for Auburn. And Auburn looks up and they lost by 2 or 3 or 4, and they went to the free throw line and had another horrendous afternoon. 24.
It's not the worst we've seen at 67%.
Yeah, but I mean, you missed 12 free throws. Like, you could have won this game easily.
Yep.
Now, I know you look down and Georgia missed 10 too, but bottom line is just make half of that. Half of those misses. You win the game. And so yeah, again, things
shooting at 27%, 8 for 30 that's not how you're going to win games. It's not.
No. And then you've got, again, defensively, just not very good up top, just allowing guys to get downhill. Wasn't a lot to be said in the post-game press conference. It only lasted 5 minutes. I mean, there wasn't a lot of questions asked, and I don't think there has to be a lot of questions asked when you kind of look at where this team is now. Mm-hmm. This team is what it is. And can it get better? Yeah. Will everybody else get better? Probably. But Auburn's got to fix the defensive problems. You can give up 104 points. You ain't beating anybody. Like, I know Auburn scored 100, but again, that's not where you want to be. That's not the blueprint of Auburn basketball the last several years. Auburn's been a very physical, smothering defense, and Auburn's been gashed in several games this year. And it's whether it's being, undersized in positions or just not really good effort or a combination of both. But now you got a Texas A&M team coming in tomorrow night, Faith, that's 11-3, and Bucky McMillan from the state of Alabama. And I followed him for a long time, obviously, when he was at Mountain Brook and then at Sanford, and now he's got this job at Texas A&M. Very important. Then with Arkansas coming in on Saturday, and John Calipari's already got that program playing really, really good. They get a win over Tennessee this
You also
weekend.
see the way he disciplines and demands from his team,
Right.
and he has authority over them. That is something that you can really tell with John Calipari in the way he coaches.
There's no doubt. I mean, obviously, you got some games. You got to go on the road to Missouri, and then you got South Carolina that's 9-5. They're not good. They haven't been a good program in a few years. And then you go on the road to Ole Miss. I'm just running these down.
And Ole Miss is not good this year at all.
They're 8-6.
They're awful.
And in Florida, man, look at them. I mean, 9-5. You got to go to Florida, and then there's a lot of teams coming up. If Auburn can get a few things corrected, that they're going to have a good opportunity to win these games. But they're the same as we're sitting here talking about those teams. Those teams are talking about Auburn the same way. They go, man, that Auburn team's very beatable, comparable to what it's been the last several years.
Yeah.
And so there's probably a lot of who's going to show up night to night and who's going to make the least amount of mistakes is going to win these games, and who's going to outplay the other team. That element of hustle when you got a bunch of 9-5 teams right now that I'm looking at, 8-6, it's going to be the effort that probably takes you over the top and doing the things that, like the free throw shooting, you got to be better at the line. That could be the difference in these games.
Yeah, Jake just said we sacrifice size and defense for shooters who can't shoot. Small teams can't be bad at shooting the ball, 100%. And that's you can't have some of these percentages being so low when the amount of times that they shot the ball, and some of these that were just, there were some sloppy parts of the game that it was just, why are you shooting the ball? Or the opportunity was not there. But Brett, 13 assists or 15 assists the whole game.
I mean, again, the distribution of the basketball, and 7, let's see. Yeah, there's combined between Magwood, Hall, and Pettiford, majority of your assists came from those 3 guys. And they should, because they're the ones handling the basketball.
Yeah.
But Kevin Overton had 2 assists. That guy played 39 minutes, 19 points. He just gets after it, man. I really like Overton. And I really like, Phillip gets pushed around a lot. He's having to play against guys bigger than him, but he gets in there and bodies up and really tries to play a physical brand of basketball. And that's what Auburn needs right now, because they are woefully undersized around the rim. So, the problem with, and the last thing I'll say about basketball, and we'll get off, is that our guards allowed guys to get downhill the last couple of years, but we had such good rim protectors. It affected the shot at the basket. Now when they're getting downhill, it's an easy layup.
Yeah.
There's nobody there to challenge. And so regardless, gotta get a win. Look, no, it's tough on the road. We've been spoiled at Auburn with the way Auburn's been able to go on the road the last couple of years and just go win games. And so now the home games become even more important.
100%.
Auburn's always been good at home over the last 7 years. Going to need to be extra good at home this year, because it's just tough to win on the road in basketball, period. But
Yeah.
all right. Again, we're excited about 2026. We appreciate all of you out there so much. It helped us this past year get to where we are. We're not finished by any stretch. We're just getting started with what we're doing with Auburn Blitz. And we've got more content coming out every day for you here on the Auburn Blitz. And again, we have our show at noon for all of you to tune into. So if you can't find Auburn content with us, I don't know where the heck you can find it. I don't really know.
Any suggestions that maybe you have that we're not above that is something that maybe you'd like to see, please. Again, feel free to hit us up. You can DM us, whatever it might be. Auburn Blitz on everything. Twitter, it's the Auburn Blitz. So
it helps grow that account, by the way. And the reason you look at that account and you go, man, he got like 45 people. It's because we had to start over. We had an account and it got locked out for some reason, but it was fine. It gives us a chance to start afresh. But if you're an ex guy or girl out there, go out there and find the Auburn Blitz and hit that, because we're going to continue to roll things. But go out there and hit our Instagram page too. It's where we have focused on really sending out our updates and things. And I think people really like that. People like visual stuff.
I know. I need
to too. Nobody wanted to read in school. They wanted to get the book with all the pictures in it. That hasn't changed. That's why Instagram is so big. So anyway, with that being said, we appreciate it all of you out there that have not subscribed to our YouTube channel. Please do that. Hey, we are about to be on all of the podcast platforms out there, Spotify, Apple, wherever it is that you get your podcast. We will be out there as well. So make sure you go and check us out there. If you listen to it going down the road in your car, whatever, of course, we'll be right here on YouTube and Facebook. We're just expanding. We appreciate it so very much. We're excited about what 2026 is bringing. Maybe it'll bring Auburn a winning football program.
Got a lot of time to talk about that up until then, Brett.
Lots of time. And then, of course, the next week and a half is going to be extremely important. And we have news today of a big portal edition. We will wait and see. We're still waiting. So whoever posted that earlier, I don't know. I haven't seen anything. And my phone hasn't blown up either. So I
know. That's why I immediately was like, hang on, let me look.
But yeah, I mean, normally my phone would have exploded if something like that would have happened. But anyway. All right, Faith. I'll let you send us out this morning.
Hope everyone has the best week ever. Be nice.
Always be nice. Just do something good for people. It goes a long way. And we will catch you later for more.